The Fed chair has really tried his best to stay out of the political fray.
Right.
But I'm wondering whether you think, though, that it's inevitable that President Trump and Fed Chair Powell are on a collision course. You have the president, again, talking about interest rates. Quote, interest rates should be lowered. He posted something which would go hand in hand with upcoming tariffs. Let's rock and roll, America. Your thought here about the potential collision course between these two men?
First of all, I love rock and roll. As you know, I grew up during that period, the 50s and 60s. So the birth of rock and roll. Look, he just 2 weeks ago, or less than a week ago, the president said he agreed with the Fed's decision to hold. And very importantly, his Secretary of the Treasury, Mr. Bennett, came out with the same thing, Bessent rather. And I think he's talking about longer-term rates here because that's, again, what affects capital structure, what affects mortgages, the 10 and 30.
Powell himself said they can't do anything about long-term rates.
I agree. I've been saying this to you, Scott, for the longest time. They cannot influence those rates. Those are based on expectations of long-term future. Right now, they're rising. There is concern about deficit growth still, even though they plan to have some offsets. And we'll have to see what happens to the cost to carry for the U.S. government, which I believe is out of control. And you talk to some really, really smart people about this, not me. And you talk to Paul Tudor Jones, one of the smartest people I've ever met. And he talks about the fiscal train wreck that's underway. So they're going to have to bend the curve. I do hope they do it. I hope they're successful. And I'm praying that they will be.
I have one last thing for you. I'm sure you saw the news today of the New York Stock Exchange, Texas Exchange, the NYSE
Yes.
Texas, they're calling it. They front ran you guys. You're planning the Texas Stock Exchange. You're a special advisor. I guess they thought it was a good enough idea. They wanted to do it before you did.
No. Look, first of all, it recognizes the incredible power of the economy of Texas. We are the Empire State now, with no offense to my friends in New York. That period has passed New York. So that's the one thing. I'm going to read you what TD Securities sent out just a minute or two ago. It says, quote, the fact the New York Stock Exchange is making the change of its NYSE Chicago medallion proves that it, too, believes the new Texas Exchange is a legitimate threat to the U.S. listings duopoly. Add to this point, I'm quoting, the support of large investors like BlackRock, Citadel, and board members for the TXSC that include a former governor. And it's clear this new upstart means business. We think there is room, TD said, for a third listings exchange for the U.S. and expect Texas to pose a significant threat to the incumbent since demutualization in the 2000s. Overall, the U.S. is winning the global battle for listings, further suggesting a third venue for the U.S. listings may be viable. Scott, these exchanges, I have great respect for the New York Stock Exchange, but the fees that they impose are onerous. We've heard this from different companies over and over and over again. And the restrictions that they impose they were imposing in the NASDAQ, who also is moving their office to Dallas. So I think this competition is good. I think we'll be very good competitors. The NASDAQ has too many small companies that they keep trying to keep for fee purposes, if nothing else. And we expect to be competitive. Now, time will tell. We don't expect this overnight. I look 20 or 30 years out, and I do expect this exchange to be one of the most prominent in the U.S., and I expect to have a good deal of listings. I'll chair that listings advisory committee, and we'll report back to you, Scott, once we're underway.